Why you don't need friends after 70. The liberating truth about aging. Have you ever wondered why your social priorities shift dramatically as you enter your golden years? The connections you once prioritized might suddenly feel less essential, and there's a profound reason for that transformation. Here's the reality: maintaining friendships after 70 might not be as necessary as society leads you to believe. While that statement might initially sound jarring, there's significant wisdom behind embracing a more independent lifestyle in your later years. In this video, we'll explore the 6 surprising reasons why reducing your social circle after 70 isn't just acceptable, it's potentially life-changing. We'll uncover why prioritizing your own peace, reclaiming your time, and focusing on genuine connections matters more than maintaining a large network of acquaintances. This isn't about isolation or loneliness. It's about reclaiming your authentic self after decades of social obligations. Stay with me until the end, because understanding these insights might completely transform how you view this chapter of your life journey. 1. You've earned freedom from social validation. Remember those decades spent constantly seeking approval. The exhausting cycle of fitting in, impressing others, and maintaining social status that dominated your younger years. By the time you reach 70, you've lived through the phase where external validation dictated your choices. You've climbed career ladders, navigated social hierarchies, and experienced enough to recognize a profound truth: authentic happiness never came from others' approval. Consider Thomas, who spent 45 years building an impressive professional network. His calendar was perpetually filled with lunches, networking events, and social gatherings. When retirement arrived, those relationships rapidly dissolved. Initially, Thomas felt an obligation to maintain these connections, scheduling coffee dates and sending holiday cards out of habit rather than genuine desire. Then came his revelation: why continue investing energy in relationships that existed purely from circumstance rather than authentic connection? The moment he released himself from this expectation, Thomas experienced an unfamiliar sensation: genuine freedom. Without the pressure to impress, conform, or maintain appearances, he discovered his authentic self emerging. No more forced conversations. No more pretending to enjoy activities that drained him. No more measuring his worth through others' perceptions. That's the transformative realization awaiting you after 70. You've earned the right to live unburdened by others' expectations. The only validation that matters now comes from within. 2. Silence becomes more precious than social noise. As the decades pass, something remarkable happens to your perception of value. Peace and tranquility become infinitely more precious than social stimulation. In your younger years, constant activity might have seemed essential. The laughter, conversations, and shared experiences, all these external inputs created the illusion of a fulfilling life. But with age comes wisdom, and with wisdom comes the recognition that true fulfillment often flourishes in quieter moments. Most friendships, even meaningful ones, create obligations. There are birthday celebrations to attend, regular check-ins expected, and unspoken reciprocity that demands your energy. It's not that connection lacks value, it's that at this stage of life, your limited energy deserves selective investment. Take Catherine, who at 75 found herself exhausted by maintaining her extensive social network. The weekly book club she once enjoyed now felt like an obligation. The monthly dinners with former colleagues, increasingly centered around complaints and gossip rather than meaningful exchange. The constant text messages demanding immediate responses interrupted her moments of peace. One Tuesday afternoon, while reluctantly preparing for another social gathering she didn't genuinely want to attend, Catherine paused. Why was she spending her precious remaining years fulfilling social contracts that no longer served her spirit? That day, she made a decision that transformed her life. She would no longer apologize for prioritizing her own tranquility. She began declining invitations without guilt. She stopped responding immediately to non-urgent messages. She created boundaries that protected her energy. The result wasn't isolation but liberation. The hours previously spent maintaining superficial connections transformed into moments of genuine joy. Reading books she'd postponed for decades, taking unhurried walks through her neighborhood, and most importantly, rediscovering the pleasure of her own company. If you're still watching this video and finding value in these insights, please comment peace below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our future videos. 3. Quality connections replace quantity relationships. One of life's most valuable lessons arrives with age. Meaningful relationships aren't measured by quantity, but by depth and authenticity. Throughout your life, you've likely experienced the disappointing reality of friendship, people appearing during celebrations, but vanishing during hardships, relationships that demanded constant maintenance without reciprocity, and connections that existed more from habit than genuine affection. By 70, you've accumulated enough wisdom to recognize an essential truth. Having fewer authentic relationships creates more fulfillment than maintaining dozens of superficial connections. Consider Elizabeth, who maintained an extensive social network throughout her adult life. Her address book contained hundreds of names, her holiday card list was extensive, and she prided herself on remembering everyone's birthdays and anniversaries. Yet when serious illness struck at 72, she made a profound discovery. Only 3 people showed up consistently during her 6-month recovery. The dozens of so-called friends gradually disappeared when the relationship required genuine effort rather than pleasantries. This experience transformed Elizabeth's perspective entirely. Rather than feeling abandoned, she felt clarity. She recognized that those 3 authentic relationships provided more comfort, joy, and meaning than her previously extensive network ever had. She stopped expending energy maintaining connections out of obligation. Instead, she focused exclusively on relationships that offered mutual respect, genuine care, and authentic presence. The beauty of this transition isn't about rejection, it's about intentionality. When you release yourself from maintaining hollow relationships, you create space for deeper connections with the few people who truly matter, including yourself. This shift doesn't mean isolation, it means replacing quantity with quality. It means exchanging a dozen surface-level conversations for one meaningful exchange. It means prioritizing authenticity over appearance. Remember, disappointment only exists when expectations aren't met. By reducing unnecessary social expectations, you simultaneously eliminate the disappointment that inevitably follows when casual friendships fail to provide genuine support. 4. Your time becomes increasingly valuable. There's a profound realization that arrives with your 7th decade. Time is no longer an abundant resource to be casually distributed. Each day becomes increasingly precious, demanding intentional allocation rather than habitual spending. In earlier decades, dedicating hours to maintaining peripheral relationships might have seemed reasonable. The coffee dates with acquaintances, the obligatory attendance at social gatherings, the hours spent on phone calls discussing trivial matters, all these seemed like worthy investments when time stretched endlessly before you. But at 70 and beyond, perspective shifts dramatically. You become acutely aware that time is your most valuable non-renewable resource. Each moment spent fulfilling social obligations from habit rather than genuine desire represents irreplaceable hours diverted from your authentic priorities. Consider Robert, who religiously attended his monthly neighborhood association meetings for decades, despite finding them increasingly tedious. At 77, while preparing for yet another evening of pointless debates about lawn maintenance regulations, he had a sudden realization. He might have fewer than 5,000 days remaining in his life. Did he genuinely want to spend another 3 hours engaged in conversations that brought him no joy or meaning? That evening, Robert made a decision that transformed his remaining years. He began evaluating every social obligation through a simple yet powerful question: if these were my final days, would I choose to spend them this way? This clarity transformed his calendar, and consequently, his life quality. He stopped attending gatherings out of habit. He declined invitations that didn't genuinely excite him. He released himself from maintaining relationships that drained rather than energized him. The hours previously dedicated to fulfilling others' expectations became available for experiences that brought genuine fulfillment, completing the novel he'd postponed writing for decades, mastering piano pieces he'd always admired, and spending uninterrupted time with the few people whose presence truly enriched his life. That's the profound opportunity awaiting you after 70. The freedom to reclaim your time from social obligations and redirect it toward authentic priorities. Your remaining years are far too valuable to spend fulfilling social contracts that no longer serve your soul. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment time below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our future content. 5. Self-companionship becomes your greatest comfort. Perhaps the most liberating discovery of your later years is this: the companionship you've been seeking externally has always existed within you. Society perpetuates a dangerous myth that solitude equals loneliness, that being alone indicates something lacking in your life. This misconception drives people toward maintaining connections out of fear rather than genuine desire. By your 7th decade, you've accumulated enough self-knowledge to recognize the profound difference between being alone and feeling lonely. The richest form of companionship doesn't require external presence. It emerges from developing comfort with your authentic self. Consider Martha, who spent decades filling her calendar with social activities. Her weekends were booked months in advance, her evenings dedicated to phone calls and gatherings, her identity deeply entangled with her social connections. When health challenges temporarily limited her mobility at 76, Martha initially panicked at the prospect of reduced social interaction. Yet as weeks passed, something unexpected emerged. She discovered a peaceful companionship within herself that had remained undeveloped throughout her externally focused decades. The quiet mornings previously filled with phone calls became opportunities for reflection. The weekends once packed with obligatory gatherings transformed into periods of genuine rest and rejuvenation. The constant external stimulation that had drowned out her inner voice faded, allowing her authentic preferences, passions, and wisdom to emerge. Martha discovered that her own company offered something no external relationship ever had: complete acceptance, perfect understanding, and freedom from performance. She no longer needed to adjust her opinions, monitor her language, or maintain appearances. She could simply exist authentically. This doesn't mean Martha abandoned external relationships entirely. Rather, she approached them differently, from a position of wholeness rather than need, from desire rather than fear, from abundance rather than scarcity. That's the transformative possibility awaiting you after 70. Discovering that the most constant understanding and accepting companion has always been present within you. When you develop this relationship with yourself, external connections shift from necessity to choice, from obligation to genuine pleasure. 6. Liberation creates space for authentic joy. The final and perhaps most beautiful reason you don't need extensive friendships after 70 is simple yet profound. Releasing yourself from unnecessary social obligations creates space for authentic joy to flourish. Throughout your earlier decades, social expectations likely dictated significant portions of your life. The gatherings you attended despite genuine disinterest, the relationships you maintained from obligation rather than connection, the social performances you delivered to maintain your place within various groups. Each of these obligations consumed not just time but essential energy that could have been directed toward experiences that genuinely nourished your spirit. Consider David, who spent decades attending his college alumni gatherings despite finding them increasingly superficial. At 73, while preparing for yet another weekend of forced reminiscing and status comparisons, he asked himself a simple question: what would bring me genuine joy this weekend instead? The answer emerged immediately: spending uninterrupted time in his garden, reading the philosophy texts that had always fascinated him, enjoying unhurried conversations with his grandchildren. None of these activities involved maintaining his extensive social network. That weekend, David declined the alumni gathering for the first time in decades. Instead of feeling regret, he experienced an unfamiliar sensation: profound freedom. The weekend unfolded according to his authentic desires rather than external expectations, creating a depth of satisfaction he hadn't experienced in years. This simple choice became a template for restructuring his remaining years. He began evaluating each social obligation against a simple standard: does this relationship or activity genuinely enrich my life, or am I participating from habit, obligation, or fear? This clarity transformed not just his social calendar but his entire experience of his later years. He stopped engaging in friendship maintenance and instead focused exclusively on connections and activities that created authentic joy. The remarkable outcome wasn't increased isolation but enhanced fulfillment. By releasing relationships that existed from obligation rather than genuine connection, David created space for deeper experiences, both in solitude and within the few relationships that truly matter. That's the invitation. After 70, permission to release yourself from maintaining connections that no longer serve your spirit, creating space for authentic joy to flourish in whatever form genuinely resonates with your soul. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment freedom below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our future videos. As we conclude this exploration, remember that the message isn't about isolation, it's about intention. It's not about rejecting connection, but about ensuring connections you maintain genuinely enrich your spirit, rather than deplete it. After 7 decades of navigating social expectations, you've earned the right to prioritize relationships that bring authentic joy, release obligations that drain your limited energy, and structure your remaining years according to your genuine preferences rather than external pressures. Which of these 6 reasons resonated most deeply with you? Perhaps you've already begun the liberating process of focusing on quality relationships rather than maintaining an extensive network. Maybe you're just beginning to recognize how much peace awaits when you release yourself from unnecessary social obligations. We'd love to hear your perspective. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What insight from this video might transform how you approach relationships in your later years? Your experiences and wisdom are valuable not just to us but to other viewers navigating similar transitions. If this video provided helpful insights, please support our channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing with others who might benefit from this perspective. Your engagement helps us continue creating content that challenges conventional wisdom and offers fresh perspectives on aging with authenticity and grace. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward to continuing this conversation in the comment section below.